Hi, my name is Dan Zeilinger, and I have been a world-traveling trad jazz musician for the past 40 years. Some of my most memorable performances were on the lawn of the Edinburgh Castle, at Imperial Palace in Japan, as well as TV shows and commercials around the world. I've met many people during my career, and have spent many hours on stage on and off with these musicians talking about jazz, life, and more. Some are touring musicians, some are theme park warriors, and some are casual musicians who play on weekends with their friends. I think they all have stories worthy of a movie script. And through these interviews, I'll be sharing them with you. Hi there, this is Dan Zeilinger with Trad Jazz Today. My next guest is somebody who I met a very long time ago, and I have to admit I'm getting so old that I need somebody to rattle my cage before I can remember everybody that I know. But fine tuba player, I met him when he was playing with Devil Mountain, and he still is actually Mr. Keith Baltz. One of my favorite motorcyclists bikers of all time back here. That shot of you on your Harley is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's my other bike, but the Harley's still on blocks. But
Okay, let's. Bob Sequoy. We were talking about Bob Sequoy before our a little pre-ramble here. Yeah, I don't think I have aired his interview quite yet, but well, I don't know. Has Bob Sequoy aired yet?
No, you mentioned to Bob Williams that you'd like to get his information, and I do have that.
I got it, and I've already interviewed him.
Oh, okay. Oh, you did already. Okay.
Yeah. See, these are about these interviews show up about 2 months after they're done. Something like that. Like yours will probably be towards the end of November, beginning of December. This one we're doing today.
Okay.
When the July 2nd, my son gave me the idea to do this show, and so I was doing as many as I could, just because he had some free time and I had free time, and so I really loaded up. I was doing, like 3 days a week, 6 hours days. Doing 6 interviews in a row for a long time, so I've got a little bit of a leeway time here.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's talk about your history. I started with everybody about, first of all, where were you born, sir?
Actually, I was born in South Carolina, of all places. And
I did do my research. Let me see if I can find. Okay.
Look, you had to look under some ugly rocks to find anything about me.
Well, you were born in Greenville.
Greenville, South Carolina.
So there. And you went to Ceres High School.
Yes.
See, I looked at all kinds of rocks.
Well, you did find some stuff.
You went to a Modesto Junior College.
Yes.
Class of 70. Water polo. I used to live with a water polo guy who was a goalie. I never figured out how you guys tread water for so long.
I tried the other day, and I can't do it like that anymore. I can show you my foot right now. I got a cast up to my knee, but certain things are at 70 that they were at 20.
You're talking about the fact that you're in sports. You also did swimming, and you did band. I'm an ex-band director, myself, high school band director. You too?
12 years.
Yeah, so how do you, it's a hard thing to deal with the kids who have both aspirations, both musically and athletically. Sometimes you've got to get a knockdown drag out with the football coaches,
My swimming coach and band coach had it out, I should say. In fact, I kind of call trad jazz the sport because in so many ways it kind of resembles, team sports that go from one place to another, like our water polo team did. It's like a traveling Dixieland band.
That's a very good comparison, actually. It's interesting, though, because I think that actually band, both Dixieland and marching band, have more to offer than football does.
Oh, yeah.
And, mainly because it's not violent. And everybody has a chance to individually be the star, not just the quarterback or the running back,
But yeah, the bones they don't only last so long.
Well, I've had, you probably have too, but I've had a lot of high school students who are excellent athletes and hurt themselves.
Yeah.
I had this one girl who was on the basketball team and track team. She was the number one person, and by the time she got out of high school, she didn't have any knees left. You
Right.
know, but
If you marched drum corps for 4 years, you wouldn't have any knees left if you were a contra
well,
player.
I
Those guys,
did march drum corps, but I marched soprano.
those guys work harder than a football player does. I mean,
Yeah, it's
those.
true. I was in the Velvet Knights.
Okay, our local one here was the Valley Fever.
Oh, sure.
Favorite disease of ours up here in the San Joaquin Valley, you know, and that was run by a friend of mine, Gary Runston. But my band director, in fact, you talked to Bob Williams, and he and I had similar histories. Our band directors were on two different sides of the river. Siri's band was sat just across the river from Modesto. So Modesto, his band director at Downey was a very hardcore, serious concert band guy, and so was ours. In fact, we had no jazz program at all.
Oh my.
Like he over there, they had what he called a dance band. We had a pep band, and we learned Tijuana brass,
Oh
and
yeah.
so we getting hot at basketball games. And we thought, this is the 60s, let's learn some rock tunes. And we were playing rock and roll and Tijuana brass at the basketball games and getting gigs. And so all of a sudden, our high school pep band became kind of like a, you know, a hireable band. I wouldn't call it a dance band, kind of like an oddball Dixieland band. But we
Sure.
didn't term or any of that yet. So that's kind of my original beginning was accordion.
Oh, were you a victim to one of those door-to-door accordion salesmen?
No, it was more like swell, and you know, everybody needed another Myron Florin, and
This is
so
true.
my brother and I were cast into the accordion at 6 and 5 years old, and I was 6, and I remember by the time I was 8, I got the big 120 button, and I was feeling real good, and then I started banding, and my first one at 3rd grade was a trumpet, and the guy teaching it was a monster. He was very well known, and he sent me home after a couple months. He's too into this. I was ADD, a squirrel, and there was no tying me down. In fact, that's why Mom was trying to find things to keep me from bouncing off the walls and going crazy. So the next one in 4th grade, they gave me a baritone, and they said, "Which one do you want?" And we went down to where I play the accordion and looked on the walls of the music store, and there was a euphonium, baritone. And I thought, oh, that looks cool. I'll play that. And so that started me, of course. With that came lessons from the local baritone guy who was great, Robert Gottschalk Music Studio. He just came back from Michigan State. So he was the Gottschalk brothers. My junior high school band director was one of them. And
Yeah, that name rings a bell.
yeah, well, Margaret.
Okay.
I was dropping names from our area. And the Gottschalk band is kind of the Gottschalk Music Center was where all of us got our instruments, all of us got our start. If you wanted any private lessons, that's where they had the people to teach it. So I started learning baritone in 4th grade and reading bass clef. I had no idea that meant anything until I got to high school, and I'm sitting at the end of the baritone section going, I think I was better than that guy in junior high school. How come I'm below him up here? And because up here at that end of the section were all the treble clef guys, and at this end were the bass clef guys. I'm going, I'm at the crummy end of the section, and I'm not the crummiest guy here. And so, but into my first year in high school was a horror story.
Oh no.
It's a horror story for any kid to go from junior high to high school, and you're doubly scared because we got to go there a week earlier. And now there's nobody, supposedly, oh, you're in the band family. No, it's like you're going from 8th grade into the Marines and you don't know anybody. And so we were getting our butts kicked all over the field, and trying to learn how to march. And for a week before school, we're doing this. And the band director, Baltz, get back where where you started from. And I'm always a step short, a moment behind. And so he kicks me. This this is like a week or two into the first year of high school. He kicks me, and I don't know what happened. So I turn around real quick. I've got my euphonium under my arm, and it catches him right here.
Oh,
Cuts his lip open. They haul him off to the doctor's office and leave us all standing on the field. The seniors take my horn all apart and they put it on the bleachers. They rip off, there's a game that night, so they rip off a poster, turn it upside down. We got white butcher paper, take my baritone, all the springs, all the valves, everything, and scattered it all out on the butcher paper, picked me up and carried me around. Baltz the giant killer, Baltz the giant. I'm going, oh my God, this is little freshman kid. That night, he's standing there. It's at the game. He's got blood running through the butterfly tape on his lips with 5 stitches, and he's kind of scowling at me all night. And I'm just so for my whole senior year, I'm trying to be the best I can be and not do anything wrong, because this guy, if you don't look at him while you're playing in band, and we're all sight reading every day, going, you get hit by either the baton or a chalkboard eraser. And like my baritone had chalk all over it. I had chalk on me, from, okay, look up. The band would stop.
You can't do that anymore.
No, we can't.
I did throw a baton once, I have to admit. But the kid deserved it.
I suppose I did too eventually, but at the end of that year, he came to me and he goes, all the big guns on the tuba graduated. So he came to me at the end of the section, tail end of the section, and he goes, yeah, I need you. You're my tuba player next year. It wasn't a question. I go, okay.
Well, you could read bass clef, so,
That was why, but I didn't get it yet. I still thought I was just 4th chair baritone out of 5, and I wasn't any good, But anyway, when I moved over to tuba, I realized that he did that because I could read bass clef. Later, I realized that I wasn't sitting at the end because I couldn't play. I was sitting at the end because I was a bass clef reader. We were actually a separate section of
you got your own music and everything.
Yeah, and that was awesome. Man. I just took off when I got on the tuba, and we started. We did the Herb Alpert, all the other stuff. Had a great time. We learned monster tunes. So when I went to JC, actually, this my senior high school, we had a county honor band, and our band director he only even told you about it if he thought you were good enough to win. So he came to me and he goes, "I want you to go to county honor band." Oh, okay, what's that?
Sure.
Sit down, these numbers. We were playing Chester Overture and stuff, and
great tune.
Dance. And so we learned some pretty cool tunes and had to go in and play them. The guest director was Carmen Dragon.
Oh, cool.
And I'm going, who's this guy? And wait, his name's on this piece of music, America, we're playing, Hollywood composer and all this stuff. So we didn't, here we are sitting there and this guy comes up, and there was an argument as to who was supposed to be kind of 1st chair tuba. My band director thought I should do it. The other band director thought his tuba player should get it. So they both gave us 1st chair. And the first minute, Carmen Dragon goes, "Who's 1st chair tuba?" And they go, "Oh, I don't know one of them." He goes, "No, it's you." And he pointed at me. I felt like, okay, I didn't. All discrepancies aside, I earned the chair. I got the little badge. And
you must have been louder.
I was louder. And I knew all those flats.
There you go. So you went to Stanislaus.
Yep. I wound up there because I was going on in athletics. I was swimming and playing water polo and also being in the band. The only 3 things I knew how to do, or 2 things really. And
what was the music program like at Stanislaus?
Well, there was no swimming program and there was no athletics. So I wound up going into music. And I got into the department in 70, and it was mostly a very small department. My instrumental instructor was not a brass player at all. He was a cello player. So immediately we started fighting. He was giving me Rafael Mendes trumpet lessons. I'm going, this isn't tuba literature. And he doesn't know any tuba literature. He's a cello player, but he was the education guy, you know. And when I realized that there was no swimming program to continue competitively and no reason to get into that side, I went over to music and said, well, I'll be a music teacher. So I'll go into education that way. And so I played there with a cello player being my tuba instructor. And my last year there was one of those real great years. I discovered hang gliding in '73, beginning of my last year as a tuba major. And education being the desired attachment, but he had already told me I was too immature and he wasn't going to let me be in the education department because I had butted heads with him over his ability to teach me anything tuba-wise. And he said, well, if I'm going to argue with him about that, he doesn't want to be handling me through the educational part of everything. So that was fine by me. And anyway, other things happened. I started flying hang gliders and practicing a lot, and I wound up with an ear infection in the spring right before my senior recital. I'm out flying in the storms in the winter and playing 3 or 4 hours a day, and all of a sudden I come home from a Frank Zappa concert one night in '74 completely deaf, and I can't hear anything out of my right ear. And it took so long for the ear infection to drain that I couldn't do a senior recital. So I graduated with a degree in anthropology. I had a double major, and didn't go back. I hung around. I went into building, carpentry, which is my other forte. When I'm not doing music, I'm pounding nails, and when I wasn't pounding nails, I was flying hang gliding. So it created this dilemma when I finally got into traveling jazz and playing the stuff we know about on the surface. Before I got into that, it was hang gliding every weekend flying.
How did you discover jazz?
That's probably the funniest story of all. I got out of college in '74, wasn't playing for 6 years. I was off in Oregon pounding nails, and the recession hit in Oregon about '78, and there were no nails to pound, and so we came back to Modesto and I started working around here building houses with my brother and my dad. We started our own family construction company, all of us contractors and working together and building houses from the ground up. And I got back here in '80, around early '80. I got a guy calls me on the phone. I haven't touched Cuba in 6. And this guy calls me up and he goes, who are you? I go, hi, who's this? He goes, my name's Al. Who's this? Is this Keith Platts? Always is Platts. And I go, it's Baltz, yes. And he goes, you a tuba player? I go, I used to play a tuba. Why? He goes, I need a tuba player in a Dixieland band. I go, well, I don't own a tuba. I haven't touched one in 6 years. And I go, what's Dixieland? And he goes, oh, why am I calling you? And he hangs up on me. It's kind of a funny call in the middle of nowhere. And, in 1980, and I'm pounding nails on the daytime, and I'm going, that was kind of weird. And then not an hour later, my buddy, Danny Talbot, calls me back. I don't know if you know Dan. He's a trombone man. This kind of started both of us in this, but we came from the same high school band, played together in high school, played together in college, and he got wise after 1 year at Stanislaus State. He went off to Fresno, and he got into the Fresno music program down there. And so anyway, I come back and I get a call from Danny, and Danny goes, hey, what are you doing? I go, oh, I just got back from Oregon a while ago. He goes, yeah, I heard that. And he goes, you doing any music? I go, I don't have a horn. Well, what music is there to do? Except the Mo band and some pep band, concert band stuff. And I had no horn, so I hadn't been called, and I wasn't playing anything. So he goes, "Oh well, we're going to play some Dixieland," and I go, "Well, I don't have a horn." And he goes, "Oh, Ernie and I have a music studio now, and we have a tuba." And I go, well, "What's Dixieland?" And he goes, "Oh, it's Bill Bailey's Sweet Georgia Brown and the Saints Go Marching In." And I go, "Do they do Herb Alpert?" That's our same old pep band book, you know. And he goes, "No, but it's Dixieland music." And I go, "Well, okay, sounds fun. Just get playing again and stuff." So I show up down there, and we start playing all these handwritten charts. So I'm learning, we're playing Sensation Rag, Sugar Walks Down the Street, Coney Island Washboard, all these,
Sure.
It turns out later, these handwritten tunes that we think are really his chart, it's a Zep Meisner high school book. He told us they were his arrangements, so we believed it. Okay, now here's the story. The guy, Al Rosada, is his real name, but he always told everybody his name was Al Rosette. And one day we kind of got out of him, "What are you doing here from New York? What brought you out here to California?" And this is our band, all right. We have 3 high school kids. One of them's on piano, one of them's on banjo, and one of them's on drums. Our drummer right now, Joe Reynolds, in the Creole Jazz. Anyway, so we got 3 high school kids. We've got 3 college guys who have monster chops but don't know what we're doing. And then we have 2 or 3 guys, 2 guys and the old guy who really know what they're doing. So we're kind of a youth band mash-up. And so we start playing these charts, and we don't know that they're not his charts. So we're playing them all, and we all can read, so we read real well. We all learn our stuff. And after a couple months, we're starting to get some gigs around town. The opening of the new Macy's, the new mall in Modesto, all these oddball. Our handprints are in the back of the concrete at the new mall, which is a new mall in 1980, but
Sure.
years old now. But some funny things, and then all of a sudden, we get, "Hey, we're gonna go play at a jazz society." What's a jazz? Oh, the story. Well, fine. We're on the road a while before this comes out, but this is how this guy was in New York. He's a New Yorker, Al Rosada, and he can't work with any real musicians because we really don't know how kind of crusty and obnoxious he really is until we start losing gigs instead of getting them. And we start, we start getting chops and people want us to play, and he doesn't want to let us go play with anybody else. "Oh, you're in my band. You don't have a gig, but you can't, you're in my band." Oh, so we killed that right away when that started happening. But his gig in New York was playing singles with a bass sax and clarinet, and the bass sax is a capuchin monkey, an organ grinder monkey.
Sure.
So he's playing these big ballrooms and really great gigs as a one-man solo act. And by the end of the night, the Capuchin monkey's drinking people's drinks and falling down drunk on the table. He's peeing on the table. The Capuchin monkey is peeing on, and so they arrest him.
I used to date a girl like that. Oh, no.
No, we were going to leave her out of this.
No, okay.
Anyway, he was, so the ASPCA comes after him, and he flees to California. Monkeys in rehab, I don't know. But, so finally find out that he fled New York. And we go, Al, your name's Rosada. How come you tell everybody your name's Al Rosette? I'm getting paid for my gigs now, and I don't want them to attach my pension from the Army. So it was always a different story, always a different line. The Zep Meisner charts, they were written by Al Rosada, I swear. And we were fed such a shovelful, and we didn't know. We're young jazz kids going, wow. So we go to our first jazz society, We're at the Stockton Jazz Society. It's about 4 months before the Jubilee. And we don't even know what that is. We don't even know what a jazz society is. So we go into Stockton, and they go, oh, would you like to jam? Jamming? They have jamming? What's jamming? And you walk in at the jazz societies. I don't know if you're familiar with how they operate up
Oh,
here.
sure.
You walk in, if you're a single man with an instrument or woman or anything, you walk in and you put your instrument, your name on the instrument list, and they take the man off the list and make a jam band out of them, and that's the tailgate room. And
Sure.
if good enough, you get to go in the gold card room, And so we don't know anything about that, but hey, okay, all we know are our charts, So we go up and they throw us in the middle of a jam set because we're not really supposed to be the guest band. The guest band is Fulton Street or somebody like that, and we're just stuck in the middle.
Sure.
It gave us a free set to show our stuff because Al Rosada bugged the crap out of them until we better let these guys play. Plus, they got kids. They're a youth band. So the population, and back then the jazz societies were huge. I mean, 200 people easy at a meeting.
I still play at the meetings, actually, around here.
Yes, we did. We played in you probably came up here a time or two and maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Sacramento was they had a different situation. They didn't hire bands so much. They hired guest artists, built backup bands from their population players, which is a good idea. And so we were a guest shot. We got standing ovations after every song, and we felt like, wow, I feel like I'm at Woodstock, and I'm a motorcycle riding guy, and I'm playing Dix. I'm flying hang gliders on the weekends, so I'm with the wild and crazy guys, and I come in and I'm getting this same adrenaline rush playing my tuba as I am riding my motorcycle or jumping off a 2,000-foot mountain, and I'm going, I start this evil battle between, am I going to play a gig or am I going to fly my hang glider? So pretty soon, my buddies and I, Danny and I, were going, wow, what are you doing Sunday? Well, I was going to go find, hey, let's go to Stockton Club. So we're going to Stockton, we're going to Fresno, we're going to Sacramento, we're jamming, we're going to Modesto. We're playing at all the jazz societies because the Valley, the 99, Highway 99, if you know that circuit, starts at Fresno and runs to Sacramento and basically has the Fresno clubs, Modesto Club, Stockton Club, Sacramento Club.
I played all of them.
They all met on a different Sunday. So you could go to each one of them every Sunday and just jam. And we were learning. Now we're in it. We're reading charts, but we're also jamming. And so people are calling us up to be sidemen. And, you can't go play. You're my player. Are you paying me this weekend? I'm going flying if I'm playing a gig, but these guys want to hire me to play. So right away we jumped out and we're playing around, here and there. And I started playing with a lot of different bands. And that's when I went from that band to another collection, Bill Sharp and the Accidentals, and played with Bob Romans a lot. In fact, I was Bob Romans' first tuba player when he started Cell Block 7. If you know Bob and Cell Block, in fact, Bob Sequoy's their lead man now.
Yeah, in fact, when I interviewed Bob Sequoy, I said, gee, Bob, I didn't realize you played double bill euphonium.
He has a lot of stories about that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he does. There's one. I do have a question for you, Keith. Where the heck did you find a left-handed sousaphone?
Nothing I own doesn't have a story attached to it. So and it's kind of great that I do, because I bash myself up so often that there's one side or the other is liable not to be working at one point. So anyway, I was I don't know where I was at the time. I think I was back from New Orleans by then. I think it was just back from New Orleans, and I was looking on Facebook on the tuba site, and somebody was going, I'm looking for a 4-valve sousaphone. And he said, King. And I'm going, oh, I'm always looking for a 4-valve sousaphone too, but how rare are you going to find them? And I'm not going to go out and buy a new one. And so I'm looking and I see Jim O'Brien, a good buddy of mine.
Sure.
Out plays with him a lot. Anyway, Jim O'Brien, his name's on there. And he goes, I got one. And so I poke it and get in a little deeper. And he goes, I've got one, but it's left-handed. And I went, okay, I could do that. As luck would have it, in 1988, I got smacked by a cement truck and broke my right arm, and I had a gig 2 days later. So it was a jazz gig, and all I ever did was play tuba. I didn't play sousaphone, but I had one. So I picked up the sousaphone I had, and I put it on with my broken right arm, and I played it left-handed, and it went da-da-da-da-da-da. I went, 1 is 1, 2 is 2, 3 is... No, brain just flipped over.
What brand is it?
Yeah, it was an Olds.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm playing, my right hand's an Olds. It's a King. So he goes, I've got this left-handed King, and I go, I want it. And I go, bring it over here and to the Gottschalk's music studio, and I'll buy it from you, and whatever it takes, I want that horn. He goes, well, okay. He goes, he's the leader of a brass band, the British style brass band, the real brass bands. And so he said, somebody donated this horn to my band. And he goes, nobody in my band plays sousaphones and nobody plays left-handed. And I'm going, well, as luck would have it, I had to play left-handed for 4 months while this arm was in a cast, and it was no problem. And so even now and then, I do it goofing off, pretend to be dumping spit out of my valve sousaphone while I'm playing left-handed for a minute. And one guy from Indiana, in the Swamp Water Rascals, Stompers, I meet him in New Orleans every year, and he always catches me. You still doing that left? No, I got a left-handed horn now. I don't have to fool around. But I've had that horn for 2 years now, and I haven't played my right-handed one since.
Wow.
I do everything on that.
I've never even heard of a left-handed sousaphone before. That's pretty cool.
And he said he dated it back to the 16 to 20, the 1916 to 20. I'm going a horn or 20, 28, somewhere in there. And he goes, but there's no information on it. I'm thinking the only thing I could think of is maybe a World War I soldier came home with his arm blown off and somebody made him a left-handed sousaphone. I can't imagine anybody paying for one from any manufacturer today, because who would even build one?
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be backwards from the ground up. And anyway, it works real good, and I love it.
Now, you were saying that you came back from New Orleans. How long were you in New Orleans?
I go every year for the French Quarter Festival.
Oh, okay.
That's another spin-off of what happened in that first band I started with. It was called the Headliners Jazz Band. And because of that one little gig we did at the Stockton Club, and we got standing ovations, they heard about us in Sacramento. So they wanted to put us in the main room at a Sacramento Jazz Society gig. This is probably, January, February, and of 81. I guess 81. And so we got standing ovations after every couple tunes, and like 3 or 4 during the set. We only played one set, new one set. The Zet Meisner book from, A to Z. And he had 12 tunes, and we played the 12 tunes and a few more, Bill Bailey and stuff, and threw them in. And so we fumbled our way through, and they loved us, and they go, we've got all our bands booked, but you got some high school kids in there, so we're going to put you on the street as a youth band. So 1981, Sacramento, here we are on the band at the Sacramento Jazz Jubilee, and that's where that's like Dixieland, Disneyland for Dixieland.
Yeah.
Sleeping in the back of a pickup truck on Front Street. I learned oh, I can't remember the right on the tip of my brain. But you know, 3/4 of my brain's underwater. It's on that iceberg. The only part left is melting more and more every day. Um, anyway, it's oh, the graveyard tune.
Oh,
I don't know how long, you know, yeah.
are you talking about they moved Willie's grave to build the sewer, or are you talking about
No,
St. James Infirmary, or?
James Infirmary, and
Okay.
you know, every time I go to the Sacramento Jubilee, which actually that started in, and I never missed one for 30 years until the 80s when it started being problematic, and they went less and less to trad. So Devil Mountain got sidelined, but I really didn't miss one. I played with 5 or 6 different bands
Yeah,
throughout.
I was actually at every Jubilee from '80 to about 2000 with one band or another.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, back then when we first got our start, Danny and Ernie had this. Danny and Ernie were these guys that had a swing band called the Little Big Band, and Ernie was one of our trumpet players, but he wasn't really into trad. And he, being a band leader, kind of everybody that had been under really good band leaders didn't really want to be under Al Rosada for long. So we all started jumping out on our own. And before long, I'd get some side gigs even in Ernie's Little Big Band doing dance stuff. So you mentioned New Orleans. And
Yeah.
so Ernie got this thing about 12, 13 years ago. And Margaret was in on it, a bunch of us around here. He had entered a parade, French Quarter Festival kickoff parade. And so we didn't know what that really meant, but he got accepted. So he had to put a band together. So he puts together this um, it's kind of a parlor orchestra that can play swing tunes and some trad jazz and show tunes, and
Sure.
then put us out on the street to march down Bourbon Street for a mile playing. And so we have a French horn player, his wife. We have an oboe player. We have a flute and clarinet. We're marching down Bourbon Street in the kickoff play for French Quarter. It's boom, cacophony, beads flying, people wall to wall. Oboe solo? No, I don't think so. And Ernie made all these promises. It was a bucket list for all these diehard, hardcore people from Modesto. Great musicians, but this is not your New Orleans scene for what we're doing. You know,
Yeah.
nobody on the side's going to hear an oboe solo, even if you're touching it. And so we were kind of. It was we did our gig. That was our gig. We just really were there to see and listen and be a part of this big, huge experience. Which I was the only guy in there at the time. Which this was 92, 98, no, 07, 07 or it was right after Katrina. So I'm the only guy in the band that plays Dixieland at all. They're all swing and, you know, show people. And, well, I got in trouble going to Mike and Margaret's house for a party. And I wasn't going to I had a DUI and I wasn't going to get to go. And so then they had a friend that was a lawyer and he would go to court because the court date was right on my trip to New Orleans. And so it turned into be, you know, I had to do my thing. That was 14 years ago and I got through it. And, you know, but anyway, I got to finally go to New Orleans and I went with him and I'm marching. We got there 2 days earlier, really. We did our stuff was play some swing tunes in the orchestra, as a swing orchestra, did our swing and show tunes in the lobby of the hotel, and that was our gig, you know. Then we went out on the streets and listened to everybody because French Quarter Festival is free. It's 4 days of free. Everywhere you go in town, it's on stages down by the riverside, all over town, in clubs here and there. And it's so you're rubbing elbows with all these really great pop musicians from all over the world, not just you. And so I'm walking down the street, made it through the parade, and because they were afraid I wasn't going to get to go, they had another guy come in to play back at me. So we were handing the sousaphone back and forth. And my foot was problematic from many crashes of hang gliders. In fact, it's got a cast on it right now. And So I'm marching, hobbling a block, and then hand off the sousaphone, and he'd march a block, and I'd hobble along next to it. And I go, well, you're not doing me any favors. I'm still marching the parade. His lips got shot. He was trying to play the Saints by music, and he couldn't even memorize it. And I'm just going, after 2 handoffs, I just, give me the horn. You know, I just played the whole parade. And I'm walking. He goes, want me to take the horn? And I go, no, that's okay. And this is it for us. The festival's just starting, and we're going back and put it away, and we won't play anymore for 4 days. And I'm sitting there going, oh boy, well, maybe I'll get to play with somebody. So I put the horn over my shoulder, and I walk into Jefferson Park. And on the stage is Crescent City All Stars with Connie Jones and Sausage Fingers, Fountain. And next to Fountain's Tim Laughlin, and just all the great guys. And even Matt Bryan was up there in one of the groups, came later. And I know Matt from Sacramento. So it was like, I ran into all these guys I know, or I've seen and know. I don't know them, but I'm standing there when their band ends, and they did this song, and I've got tears in my eyes. And I'm just standing there, because it was after Katrina, and they were singing some really moving stuff about, missing people, missing their homes, missing their significant others and family members and stuff. And so people were still living under the overpasses and cardboard boxes, and it was still really bluesy, And we were trying to brighten things up, because that's one of the things they did, was try to bring back jazz, put it in key clubs where it had been moved out by the girly shows and other things along Bourbon Street. So after Katrina, they called it actually kind of a washout and a rebirth of what we're doing. So I'm walking down the street with my sousaphone. Maybe something magical will happen, right? And I walk by Fritzl's, which is the jazz club on Bourbon Street, and they host all the foreign bands, and it's an international pub on 722 Bourbon Street, and they host all the foreign bands, and a lot of the hot shots play there. Lee Floyd. So I walk in, and we get there 2 days early, and I'm with the trumpet player, and we don't know where to go. The festival hasn't started. He goes, let's go to Fritzl's. Let's go to Fritzl's. I don't know what Fritzl's or what it is, but we go there, and we're sitting there. We walk in, and the Swedish band's playing. They're the Canal Creepers from Stockholm. And I'm going, oh, wow, this is cool. And after that's a Danish band, and after that's a French band, and a Japanese band. I'm going, whoa, this is awesome. And then at 9 o'clock, on comes their homies, the Fritzl's All-Stars. And I'm, oh, wow, this is way cool. So we find a home away from home. And so Thursday, we had nothing to do, go over there again. First, walk in the door, it's the Swedish band. So every time we walked in the door, the Swedish band was playing. And we'd go off to I'm going to go hear Trombone Short. Okay, let's go do that. Come back, let's go back and have a beer at Fritz. Swedish band. So this is kind of funny. I'm standing there we play the kickoff parade, which then was Friday. Now it's on Thursday morning. But Friday morning, we play the parade. I'm coming back from the park with the sousaphone on. Just saw Pete Fountain. Pete Fountain walked right up to me in the crowd, and I'm standing there with my sousaphone. I can't go anywhere, and I'm just going, oh boy. And he walks up, and he just kind of bumps into me, and he goes like this, and he looks up at me, and I'm tall, and he's shorter, and he's, oh, excuse me, and I have tears in my eyes from the songs they're singing, and he goes, okay, and I go, that's okay, man, I just love what you're doing, and I go, thank you for setting all this up, and keeping this stuff alive for us. And he goes, oh, no, thank you guys, you're keeping it alive, and thinking I'm a young pup, but and I just felt like, oh, geez. And I continue walk by Fritzl's, and I'm heading back to the hotel to put the horn away. they're on the stage at Fritzl's, the Swedish band. And the sax player, soprano sax player, Ulf, had seen me playing, and he had come and caught one of our sets at the hotel lobby. And, oh, Tuba, come here, come here. Hassa's bass is broken, and he can't play. And I'm going, Hassa, okay, yeah, okay. And he goes, you play, yeah? I go, yeah, I'll play. So I start sitting in with him, and he's standing next to me, you know. And we play a couple tunes, and he goes, we have string bass mostly. You do two beat, yeah. And because I've been playing with Devil Mountain, and Ken gets me all confused. You know, over the years I learned which tunes were two beat, and which were mostly four beat. You know, at first it was King Oliver. Is this a four beat tune? No. Well, I don't know. You know, and then finally, okay. And then I'm playing with somebody like Jimmy Mazzy, and Ken goes four beat, and it's not a Ken. I know this is not a four beat tune, but he wants me to do it anyway. You know. And so he goes four beat on the banjo, and I'd go into a four beat walking bass line. So I'm okay. I'm just okay. I'll just only do two beat because he'd hear me wanting to do a walking bass line or something. I've been playing with a swing band all week, so I'm ready to just go right into the in the mood, go boom, 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 you know.
Sure.
And so playing with the Swedish band, and by the end of the first set, he's, you pretty good, yeah. And I never know if it's a question. I go, you pretty good, yeah. I go, he doesn't mean it's a question. I go, no, I'm okay. You know, I don't know how to answer him. And so, pretty soon, I'm picking up their accent, and I start talking like I'm a Swede. Yeah, my name is Keith. I'm Keith from California.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Of course, Arnold's our time, so the accent fit really perfect. They loved it, and they go after we're done playing there. They go, you play more, yeah? And I go, yeah, I'll go play with you guys. I'd rather play than try to find people to hear until 6, and then the festival shuts down, and it was already past that. And so I followed them to the next club. They had a string bass, and I go, oh, you have a bass? You don't what? You don't need me now. Oh, you are our guest artist. And so they were giving me solos on every song and stuff because he figured out I knew the melody within a few notes. And so I kind of learned how to figure out what these guys were doing. You know, I'd ask them what key it's in. Banjo player looks over and goes, B. I hope you mean B flat. Yeah. He looked up. Yeah. So, and one day I'm sitting banjo player, and I'm playing along with him, and I'm looking down the chart because the Swedish chart, some love song that was, anyway, it had a story, Gunhild, but the guy never wrote any words because if he did, Gunia, if he had ever written words, his wife, whose name was not Gunia, would kill him. So anyway, we're playing this beautiful song, and I'm playing four measures, and I go to the next four measure, and it's like, oink, what the heck happened there? And the banjo player slaps me, he goes, verse, chorus. They split the page in half. I mean, you only go 4 bars and go, chink, ting, chink, ting, and the page, measure 5 is actually that's the chorus. And I'm like, okay. So I learned this stuff, and it was just a real trip. I played with them 10 years there. They email me every year. You go to New Orleans, you're our Viking tuba player. So anyway, playing with those guys, I started bumping elbows with Lee and all these guys from Fritzl's, guys from everywhere else, and guys who I also knew that were down there, Jason Jerzak and
Sure.
We just mentioned him a minute ago, Matt Bryan, and most of the other California guys I knew down there. So I kind of started feeling like, wow, this is cool. And, you know, I knew all the tunes. I'm walking around here with a sousaphone on my shoulder, and I'm playing everywhere with just play a few notes. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, here, you gave me $5. whoa, go over to the door, have a hurricane and a hot dog, and I could live easy, just tie myself to my sousaphone and live on the street. But anyway, I started by my third year down there playing with those guys. Our guys did it 3 years religiously, and then the bucket trip gang, they didn't want it, they couldn't do it anymore. We couldn't find enough people to put a decent band together to come here. So I started going all on my own. Actually, the third year, I met Steamboat Willie, and I'm playing. Well, it was the first year I decided to take a little more time than my 5-day trip with the gang from Modesto, the bucket list crew, and so it was the Ernie Bucio traveling band, and Ernie actually died about 5 years or 6 years into this. So about 5 years ago, he had a stroke, passed away. But not only did he enter us in that parade, he entered us into a park or a concert band festival in Carnegie, and they took us. So Ernie, through Ernie, he was the band man of Modesto. Through Ernie, I got to play with people like Carol Chan and Bill Watrous, Bobby Shue, just the big names.
Sure.
Well, in our area is really big, Mick Gillette from Tower of Power. So this is a get you concert. Ernie puts together this concert. He's got Bill Watrous. He's got Bobby Shue, the great studio trumpet man from your neck of the woods. He's got Plaz Johnson, the tenor man from from Pink
Sure.
Panther.
Oh yeah, Pink Panther.
And he's got Mick Gillette. So he's got these hot bebop trombone player, and he's got the hot legit guy Bobby Shue and Plaz, and Plaz could swing anything, and he's got Mick Gillette, the rocker. And so we're all playing. We're in the backup band behind him, and stuff. And it was so funny because Mick Gillette comes out. Everybody did their little thing, come out, and Mick Gillette came out with a poster and a pen. And he goes, "Would you guys all sign this for me? I can't believe I'm on the stage with you guys." So it kind of broke everything up. But we got through Ernie. We got to do some big things that people in this area wouldn't really get to do. And
what's more important is they're all nice folks. They're big stars, but they're just really nice. I had a chance to play with Plaz. He was playing with Conrad Janus Beverly Hills Unlisted, a jazz band, and I had a chance to do a couple gigs there with Plaz Johnson. He's just a wonderful guy,
Yeah, I saw those guys when we played San Diego Festival with Devil Mountain. I went a couple times. Conrad Janus.
Yeah, I used to sub for Westy Westenhofer with that band.
Oh well, you. Yeah, well, you see that was the difference. Westy, I actually got the biggest compliment of my life last year. I was playing. Well, I told you I kind of inherited the leadership of Creole. Our reunion basically is because of Margaret. We were all standing on a street corner at the Sacramento Jazz Festival somewhere around 2006 or 8, and Margaret walks by, and it just happens that I just saw Cell Block 7, which had Danny on trombone, and our drummer was playing drums with him, and then over here walks up another guy, Dave Johnson, who played in the Creole Jazz Kings way back when. So we got Dave and Danny and Chris, our reed player, and I'm with Devil Mountain. I just show up, and there's 4 or 5 of us from the Creole Jazz Kings standing on the street corner, and all of us with different bands. And Margaret walks by, and she goes, "You guys need to get back together again. You guys play better than all these guys." Because we used to play that, I call it carnival jazz. I mean, we did, I think Joe clocked our Tiger Rag at 220 or something. It was, we're trying to double just to keep the bass line up, and it was just, we were kind of, Danny go, "Hell with the dancers. We got to play a slow one once in a while. Hell with the dancers." Everything was fast, fast, fast. So, by then things had tapered down, and lightning hot bands like us weren't around that much anymore. They were
Right.
they were tasty now. So Margaret, because of Margaret, I go, I got a place. It's a biker bar, but I know this girl that wants to open a real nice New Orleans clientele tailgaters and so she opened it. They lasted 6 months, but it got us back together, and then we spun off into Bark and Dog, which is where Margaret did a lot of playing there with the Ernie Busio big band. She was a sax player in that band and stuff, and so is my girlfriend Olga. And anyway, it's a local band that kept a lot of people busy, and all the big names played in it. But also,
I'm sorry. Is Margaret still in Idaho?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, she's going through some health issues right.
I actually haven't spoken to her in about a year.
If you look on Facebook, she's second stage chemo, I think, trials right now,
No, I didn't
and
know.
we're all praying every day for her and doing, the best. It's been a tough 6 months, I'd say, of just ups and downs, all the other stuff aside. And so, anyway, yeah, they're back in Idaho, and the little big band, of course, with when Ernie went, had a stroke and passed away. That turned into a whole different thing. Another guy running a smaller group, and it's just none of the big names come through. But what happened with me was I kind of got to jump out of that when I went into Devil Mountain. Devil Mountain was the first band I was in. I kind of went from the Beast circuit to the All Stars, and that's when I'm running around and meeting guys like you and rubbing elbows with a lot of the other hot shots that are,
Oh, I wouldn't call me a hot shot, but thank you.
well, I'm the guys. When I look at your list of people that you've interviewed, I know most of them from cruises, because that's when we get to mix elbows with you guys over the hill, or down Southern California area,
Yep.
and like we were the other Uptown Lowdown. So if a festival wanted that type of band, double trumpet, cornet, Blue
Sure.
Waters, that kind of stuff, Fart Murphy, like those are the kind of guys that it was one of us or the other of us. Well, there was this guy, you might have played on one, the Bill Blythe cruises.
No, I haven't done a Bill Blythe.
Okay, well, he's gone now, but there were I did about 10 of them out of maybe 20 years of him doing those, or 15, whatever many he did. And that's when he'd put 5 or 10 bands on aboard a cruise ship. And wherever the cruise ship was, it was a kind of a festival at sea with maybe 100 to 200 or more people all there to see the jazz portion. And we got to play a set and then mix and mingle and really meet each other,
Yeah.
So people like Burt Barr and everybody in that band, in the Uptown Lowdown, became brothers and sisters to us all. And we became kind of a brotherhood band of theirs. Ken Keeler, our leader of Devil Mountain, did kind of the same thing with Nobahara. I know Dan Marcus mentioned Nobahara in Japan. And he also brought us over there for a tour that went to his hospital in Meiji and played over there for 10 or 11 days. And it was like red carpet, treated you like kings everywhere you went.
Yeah.
It was just, wow. And that was right after I left the Creole Jazz Kings. And I had already been subbing with Devil Mountain in the mid-'80s and starting to play over the Bay Area more. And so as a sideman and starting to pick up freelancing in the 80s after the first learning the stuff and jamming a while and playing along with the radio show out of Stockton. Vince Marino, Dixieland's My Beat. Yes, sir. Every Sunday morning for 3 hours. And I tape those on cassettes and play along with them. And he's one of the main proponents that helped keep the Sacramento Gypsy Jazz Fest going. He and Borcher and a bunch of those guys that were hardcore. And so, I don't know, through that genesis, I kind of fell into a really cool thing where I just fell in love with it. And back to the biggest compliment I ever got was now that I'm leading this band. I used to play all these jazz societies, and I've been playing them with Devil Mountain as a sideman. But now people know that I'm the Creole Jazz Kings are back alive, and I'm the guy to talk to. So we're playing all the jazz societies. So 2 years ago, I'm playing the Monterey Jazz Society, and we get through with the set, and a guy comes up and he's talking to me, and he kind of looks familiar. And I'm, oh, where'd you get that left-handed sousaphone, man? How do you play like that? He goes, man. He's talking my ear off for the whole. I felt bad because we were right in front of the hometown jammers, you know. And so I'm engaged and I'm loud and I'm being obnoxious. But, you know, I'm talking to this guy in the next set. He's completely enthralled with Bob Sequoia. You know, he's talking to Bob Sequoia and everything. So I go over here and the big guy that runs the whole place, the guy running the sound system, and he's the main guy there. I can't remember his name. Anyway, I walk over by him and he goes, I just got the greatest compliment for you. And he goes, that guy over there, he says you sound like, he hasn't heard a tuba player like you since Westy Westhoff. And I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding. And I go, well, who's that? And he goes, that's Jackson Scott. And I'm going, wait a minute. I'm here farting around on this left-handed sousaphone. Now I'm afraid to play the third set because I know who's in the audience. And it's like, oh, boy.
Jackson's another one of those nice guys, though, you know.
And I hadn't seen him since probably the 80s we were over there playing a lot. And
yeah. I had a chance to play with Jackson when he and I were both with the Hot Frogs.
Right, yeah.
For a while, so.
And I remember the Hot Frogs, we got kind of tight with them whenever we'd go down that way because Gene and Mike Silverman, they both had a problem with depression.
Yeah.
So whenever the bands were together, they would go off in a dark room and sit and talk to each other. And we became pretty close to them on several different, you know, when we saw them. But that was near the end of their reign. They were starting to, you know, I even sat not in with them, but I was playing. We got a gig going down there and playing the LA Jazz Festival Society, which they rarely get a band from up here to play a society gig. You know, it's usually a festival or something. So I'm down there and I'm sitting next to Les Deutsch. He just played tuba on the last set in a jam band, and now he's playing a piano in another group. And, you know, and I knew he was a Frogger. I just didn't remember which role he played. You're an ex-Hot Frogger, aren't you? Oh, yes. And then we started talking about all the end of the Frogs in that era.
Yeah, I was actually the tuba player that killed him, but that's beside the point. In fact, for a couple of festivals, maybe 3 festivals, when Mike was really having some problems, I switched over to trumpet and Les played tuba.
Right. Tell that to Dan Marcus.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Well, listen, Keith, this has been a lot of fun. I'm going to have to start wrapping things up here a little bit. I'm so glad we did this. Olga, are you still there?
Olga's here.
No, thank you for pushing me to remember Keith. I'm
so glad you did.
You know, she emailed me and said, you know, your show's not going to be complete unless you have Keith Baltz on. And I said, I'm not sure I know Keith. And she goes, then about a day later, she emails me back. She says, he says he knows you. I said, wait a minute, let me look. And I looked up your Facebook. I said, okay, I remember Keith. And now that I connected with Margaret, of course, everything comes flooding back.
Yeah. Well, it's a small circuit, you know, but I've kind of landed in a good place where I'm 90 miles from Fresno, 90 from the Bay Area, 90 from Stack. And I've got 10 years of playing in New Orleans now. I've been offered gigs to go there and move there and stay there and play with Steamboat Willie you know. I'm happy here. I'm happy I play side, and I've got a gig today, you know.
That's wonderful.
But you don't know yet.
You know most of the guys that I've interviewed, maybe 90% of the people I've interviewed.
Well, I figured there was 1 and 3 maybe that I don't know, and those are probably guys more from your era or your neck of the woods.
Well, some of the people I'm having on here are really young or just now getting into it, and
Yeah,
I kind of want to promote the youth that's
yeah,
coming up and playing this style.
that's great.
Later on today, I'm going to be interviewing Bradley Baker.
Oh yeah,
Speaking of
Riley,
younger guys,
good upcoming tuba player.
and also I'm going to be interviewing Evan Christopher today. So,
Oh man, I
so
remember that guy started. We were at the Jazz Festival in Sacramento, and he showed up, and who the heck is that?
yep, yep.
He was a
All right,
little kid.
all right, sir. Keith, Olga, thank you very much for making this happen,
Thank
and
you.
and we'll be in contact. I'm not going to ignore you for another 10 years or so.
I'm
So,
still playing. I'll get down there.
all right. By the way, if I have another YouTube channel called Daniel E. Zeilinger, where I post a lot of the music. So there's some things on there with Westy. There's Misbehaving and 10th Avenue and all kinds of different bands. First Federal Jazz Band. Daniel E. Zeilinger is another YouTube channel. Got that, Olga?
Yep, got it.
She's getting it.
All right, sir. We'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Okay, Dan. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Trad Jazz Today. Dan shows new interviews every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Make sure to check out the archive of past shows and please give us a thumbs up when you subscribe to the channel. Bye.